Good afternoon, friends. I welcome you on behalf of EPCH to the presentation on Autumn-Winter 2018-19 Trends and Forecasts by WGSN. We have with us Ms. Lisa White. She is Head of Lifestyle and Interiors Beauty from WGSN. She has come all the way from London. We welcome you, Ms. White. We also have with us Ms. Monita Samtani. She is a Regional Director, Asia Pacific. She is here with us from Hong Kong. And we also have with us Priya Sachdev. She is a Business Director, South Asia, based out of Gurgaon. We welcome you all. To begin with, we have with us our past chairman, Mr. Ravi K. Pasi. May I request Mr. Pasi to welcome Ms. White. The bouquet of flowers. May I request him to welcome Ms. Samtani. May I request him to welcome Ms. Sachdev as well. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now, may I request Ms. Lisa White to make a presentation.
So making time for trends is actually something that's very important. I'm really happy to be with you here. I'm going to be in India for the next week, and we'll be taking a look at a lot of the things you do. So we'll go into a few of our trends here. Again, I am based in our London office. I'm an American originally. And what I do with my team is take a look at global trends. What's going on in the world in general, and how these trends apply to product, again, in general. We're working with EPCH to talk about how they apply to India as well, and to some of the production methods and materials you have here. But what I'm presenting to you today is global trends, okay? So for autumn-winter 18-19, we have 4 trends. These are not the order I'll present them now, but we'll go from left to right. It makes kind of sense. We've got worldhood, human nature, dark wonder, and the thinker. And again, when we come up with these trends, what we're doing is we are translating trends from season to season. So these stories, these macro trends that we come up with, it's not just for one season. You'll recognize some of these things today, and these trends will be important for after that season as well. But we're just saying that they'll be extremely important from a mass perspective for autumn-winter 18-19. Okay? If you guys have questions afterwards, I'm super happy to answer them as well, okay? So the thinker is our first theme, and we're talking about taking time. And this is very important. As you know, speed and process are speeding up more and more than ever before. We don't have time for things anymore. We basically have to get our idea and produce in shorter and shorter periods of time. So what our job is at WGSN is to help you think strategies for farther in the future. And that's kind of what the thinker is about. Being able to step back a little bit, pause a second, and really take time to think about, okay, where am I going forward? And what I want to do is present a couple of the lifestyles that are going to be impacting product, okay? So the first few slides are really about lifestyle, about the importance of quiet, the importance of reflection, and the importance of reading. Am I speaking too fast?
No, Lisa, my question is, should we ask our questions as you go, or should we keep it towards
Keep them for the end, I think, because otherwise, how much time do we have, just so I know? An hour, about?
Yes.
An hour and a half? That's great. So write down your questions and ask me afterwards, I think, because otherwise we do have 4 trends, and it will take forever to get through them otherwise. But I'm happy to answer them all at the end. Unless you're desperate and you have to ask me right now, just ask. And if I talk too fast, let me know too, because I've had a lot of tea and I'm American, and sometimes I go really, really fast. So we're talking about reading as being important too. We're more and more reading online, and we're seeing a lot of younger generations wanting to go back, millennials, go back to books, go back to spaces where you can sit and reflect. The idea of libraries, of reading rooms, of reading nooks is becoming more and more important. The importance of pages and paper. It's so funny in this digital age, when we can get anything online, we're seeing a resurgence of stationery and the importance of stationery, and that being super, super trendy. So the notebooks, the papers, and paper as a material is super key. Okay, that's not me. Okay, gotcha. We're good. We're taking a look at the smell of paper too, and this candle that you're seeing there too is a decorative accessory. It's the smell of libraries, because in many cases the libraries have disappeared from the home. We're seeing people take books and use those as decorative accessories in the house. So it makes the space cozy, and it makes you feel very intelligent at the same time. So we're also talking about the importance of constant learning. The fact in this day and age, you go to school, but you never stop learning. So it could be something that you're learning when you are going to work in your car and you're learning to speak a new language. It can be any of your downtime. You're always trying to inform yourself, to learn and to go forward. We're seeing gift kits being very important too. Gift kits where you're learning something. They have gift kits where you receive one time a month, maybe a selection of beauty products, or one time a month a selection of beautiful design products. It can be a candle plus a book. And also kits that help you learn something new, to learn how to knit, or to learn how to do embroidery. We're seeing people wanting to learn the handicrafts that you already know how to do. And they don't pretend to be as skilled as you, but they'd like to learn how to do it themselves. So almost thinking about the things that you do and how you can make that into a DIY kit, that people can learn mosaic, or they can learn different types of calligraphy to do something themselves. Curated experiences. Too much product is not a good thing. It's a paradox. People like to have choice, but not too much choice. And that's why trends are very important too. They help you narrow down some of your product, because otherwise it's too much information for people. So we're seeing a lot more curated experiences. We're seeing people, for example, when you have shelves in your home, it's no longer closed shelves where you stuff everything in there and shut the door and hope it doesn't fall out on you. It's actually an open shelf, and you'll put a pot here, a book there, a plant there, almost as if you were a curator in a museum in your home, and you can change that all the time to make it new and fresh depending on the seasons. So we're seeing about the importance of tech and rebalancing with tech. There's times where we need to have it on all the time, and there's times where we need to shut it off and reconnect with our families and our brains. So we're seeing a lot more people wanting things that you can put your tech in a box and put it away, and it will cut off all of the signals, so you can actually get some discussion time with your family without people's telephones buzzing and beeping all of the time. So the importance of rebalancing with tech is going to be very important. So how do things look? These are just a couple of slides. I'm going to talk about how things look in general, and then I'll go into a few product categories as well. So we're seeing the importance of classicism coming back here. If you think about libraries and classics and knowledge, you think about Greek and Roman and Indian and Chinese, like really amazing classic proportions here. So the importance of arches, the importance of spirals, the importance of really beautiful classic shapes. Again, arches here are very important too, because that's kind of a good example for what we want in this day and age. We want things to be open, but still protected. And arches give you exactly that feeling there. It could be from an architectural perspective, or from something like this vase that just has the cut out in there. Classics with a twist. So these are shapes and things. You say, oh, I know that, it's a historical piece, but it's something that's a little bit different. My favorite example here is in the middle at the bottom. That's Mathieu Le Haneur, who's a French designer. He made on the floor of the V&A Museum in London what looks like the water. It's got all sorts of ripples. What kind of light is on that product? Maybe there's light coming from inside. You can have a light bulb or LED or something. But light is very important, especially when you're doing your visual merchandising. The right light puts you in the right mood to buy something. We work with a lot of very big retailers, and we're saying, your store light is one of the most important things you can invest in your store. Because, as you know, mood counts for everything. 90% of all purchases are based on emotion and mood, and not on your intellect. So, get people in a good mood. This is a really important thing too, from a general trend perspective. It's warm modernism. We've been seeing a lot of things that are quite modern and sleek, that whole sort of Scandinavian influence, but we're definitely seeing things warming up. We're seeing woods become darker. That light wood has been popular for so long. We're seeing more richness in wood. We're seeing velvet as being a very important material, even in the summertime. In France recently, they had bikinis made out of velvet. So I don't know how they work exactly. They're probably very technical material, but Sweden velvet for summertime is important. So things that are very cozy and warm. Leather, vegan leather is important as well too. So that's definitely something for the future. Graphic elegance, we're seeing a lot more continuation of different types of volumes and plays of geometries, which are important. Taking the facets that you find in jewels and playing with those shapes in different colors. That's a definitely continuing trend. And softness. The way things are going, life is going to get softer and softer rather than harder and harder. We're seeing people being able to integrate anything into something soft. Hard goods like tables and chairs are becoming softer and upholstered. So hard edges are no longer going to work. As you know, in clothes and in fashion, people want soft, comfortable things. They don't want uncomfortable things anymore. And it's definitely, that's the way things are going in design. So I want to show you a couple of color palettes. I'll go through them rather quickly because I know we've got a lot of them here too on the site. But it's really taking a look at thoughtful tones, the kind of things you would see in a fantastic old university, in a library there, the colors you would find on the edges of the books. So collegiate reds and greens and blues, and again that sort of millennial pink there, and a really lovely ochre as well. So we talked about directional colors here, which are kind of specific. We've got that sort of serpentine green, we've got a dry walnut, we've got autumn rose and atmospheric gray. And in a lot of these colors, we've got sort of a red, a blue, and a yellow in different tones. And those are making very interesting color combinations. But we've got specifics for those too. So neutrals are classic yet modern. They're very low contrast here. We're taking a look at a lot of harmony in this particular range. Here we're seeing again those collegiate colors, like I was saying, that you would find on a book binding. Colors that look good in leather or canvas, that type of thing. It's also important to take a look at the warmer hues too, of that warmer minimalism. A little bit of a Bordeaux and the very rich sort of pear yellow. And then that sort of red, white, and blue, but something that's not like, it doesn't look patriotic from any particular country. It's a very beautiful shade of blue. And then definitely, this is a trending color, is that sort of darker fur green. And we're seeing that everywhere, even in kids' types of things. So fur green and warmer metals like a copper or a bronze, those are trending immensely and will be. So I wanted to take a look at a few other things here too, in furniture and lighting, for example. So again, you've got that soft lighting, soft shapes as well too, and edges. And it could be something that's practical. You can still read by that light, but it just gives off a glow. And that type of wallpaper is definitely trending, and wallpaper prints will be very, very key. So we're seeing here, you can see perfectly in the middle what I'm talking about, that fantastic green with bronze, and that's going to be super, super trending. So still very warm metals here. And some, should I turn that? Oh, good. Felted types of materials. So they're pressed, they can be made of recycled materials as well too. Room dividers, for those of you who make furniture, that is definitely something that's coming to the fore. And they can be soft, they can be handcrafted, they can have a lot of things going on, but making cozier spaces for people are important. Because definitely, you know, where I'm living, it's all open space. Rooms are too big, and people want to feel a little bit more cozy and protected. So room dividers will be key. We're taking a look at, again, those arches I was speaking about earlier. So arches that inspire architecture, but then also lighting. And some of these are extreme examples, so I'm not saying you shouldn't be making this. This is like a little out there. But it helps you remember some of those shapes are going to be quite key. So modernist-inspired things too. That modernist sort of trend from the mid-century, in the 60s and 70s in particular, is important for this trend here. So very streamlined. And then in textiles, printed and woven. I love that carpeting, for example, too. That reminds you of stacks of books. It's abstract, but the idea of stacks of things neatly organized is really fantastic. And menswear examples too. Things that look like they're tweeds or woven from menswear are super trending. We have a report that just went up on the site about the Gentleman's Club, taking inspiration from them. So you've got spirals and ripples, you've got shapes as well too that are almost meditative, having a carpet, for example, with a shape in the middle where you can sit down and be mindful and focus on that. We have definitely over embroidery as well too. So you've got a most menswear background, but there's an extra layer of embroidery on the top there. And again, that focus on tactility. And that is something, no matter what you do, the color is important, but the texture is even more important. People have very hungry fingers in this day and age. We spend all of our days on computers and they have the same texture, all of them. And so if you can give people something with their fingertips that's real, that's what's very exciting. I was speaking with one of our customers in the United States, Pottery Barn Teenager, about Back to Campus, which is a big, big season in the United States for buying things for kids' rooms. I said, well, how do you produce, how do you merchandise? She goes, it's all based on texture. Because when people send their kids off to college, they want them to feel loved and warm and safe, and so they buy texture. So that's really kind of showing where things are going. Being able to put books wherever you can find them. And again, using books is almost like a building material. So here we're looking at asymmetry as well, playing a little bit with layering different types of shapes here as well too, and continuing the pattern as well, like this bed and bath where you have a pattern going across the pillows, which is quite key. Also, different types of things that looks like they've been etched, grids that remind you of notebooks from when you used to go to school as a kid, and definitely surfaces that are smooth, that are soft, that are rounded. Silicone is being a key material here, or something that resembles silicone. I might call out materials here too. They might not be what you produce, but you could just take into account, well, we don't make that, but we have something that's similar. That would work great. We're seeing all these peachy textures, peach skin types of things that are really interesting as well. So again, this references of classic architectures in decorative accessories. Mirrors are still going to be trending a lot. Again, if you live in a small space, a mirror brings you perspective. It's great for preparing for selfies. And it's just something that is quite lovely. So it could be large, it could be small, but definitely still mirrors. Little types of things where you can put your keys or your USB stick, these little like top right there. Stuff where you can put things from your pocket, or just showcase one very beautiful item that you have as well too. So again, these classical references that we're seeing in those mirrors, and multiples of mirrors, and making collections for them. Greek and Roman ideas for those bookends as well too, but again, classics with a twist. Leather, very, very important, warm leathers, and again, it doesn't have to be real leather, it can be vegan leather as well too. So using that with brass, stationery and desk accessories are really key. Of course, a lot of us don't work at desks anymore. Freelancers, for example, they tend to work wherever they are. There's a really great expression, is home is where the laptop is. My laptop is my home. So the laptop accessories, definitely. We can't get enough of those. But anything, we don't work at desks, but we like the idea of having a desk, because that means you're organized and you're on top of things. So people like to receive desk accessories as gifts, because they look beautiful and they make you look very smart. Clocks, again, another thing, nobody uses clocks anymore, because you've got your iPhone or your smartphone. So clocks become something that really is more a texture on the wall or a jewel for the wall. It's not so much to tell time. It's good if it tells time, but it's not that necessary. And I put this in here too, indoor garden, and I can't stress enough, that is a huge trend right now. People want to include plants as much as they can in their lives, and the more products you can make that are plant-friendly, and that will help make a plant look amazing and make it look wonderful in an interior environment, the better. So indoor garden is a big thing. My favorite example here is top right, and this is a little pot that when the plant needs water, it kind of tilts to the side, and then you add enough water for the plant, and then it gets up straight. So you kind of tells you when it needs to be watered. For this material in glass, or this product in glass right there too, it's actually, you just put the water in there and stick it in the dirt, and the plant waters itself. But it's very beautiful. It's not some plasticky garden thing from the garden center. It's like a jewelry for a home. So that type of plant-friendly accessories are really important too. So we're seeing them in very glamorous types of colors that go with interiors. They can be, again, vegan leather for a vase. Watering cans that are not something that's functional, it's something that's beautiful. It's now an accessory for your home. And different ways of playing with vases that look very, very contemporary. So we'll move on to our second trend, which is quite different. And this one's called human nature. And this trend is about instinct. It's about things that are raw and things that are not processed and things that are very emotional as well too. As I said earlier, emotion is what drives most purchases. And so we need to think about how we can make people feel almost a visceral sense of want for a particular product. We're also talking about instinct as well too. Data is very important. We work with data all the time to produce our reports, but then we also rely on an instinct as well about something that's going to work. And we need to respect that in human beings also. Apparently they've done studies on Wall Street traders, and the most successful ones are the ones who take into account all the information that's coming in, but that really in the end the call goes on their instinct and on their gut. They don't rely just on the information. So those are the most successful ones long term. So we look at the instinct at home as well too. So things that look lived in, things that look like they've been there for a long time, put you in contact with nature. And a really good example here at the top right, that was in Milan, it's a lamp, and the switch for the lamp is not just a switch that goes on off, it's actually a magnetic rock, and you move the rock around to get the different types of lighting qualities that you want. That's very extreme, it needs a lot of engineering. But the idea is taking something that's raw like lava and using that as a material for design. And this is an extreme example, bottom left. Don't do this, but it's this Italian group called Contacto. They're a young group of millennials, and they said, listen, we are so out of touch with our food, we need to not do any tableware at all. So instead of having a bowl, hold out your hand and I'll make you a pasta carbonara in your hand, and you eat it from your hand. So the idea is only eating using your hands and nothing else. And again, that's very extreme, but that shows you kind of where the trend is going. It's about texture and about meaning. So animal culture too, the pet industry has never, ever gone downhill. Even in recessions, people will spend more money on their pets than they will themselves. So pet accessories and pet paraphernalia are sophisticated ones, are definitely going up. Great pet beds, pet bowls. I love this sort of cat thing, cat furniture basically. My favorite thing in the Milan ones was somebody made a desk where it was all carved out of the inside of the desk so the cat could go inside and pop its head out whenever. So whatever you can do for pets is actually going to sell really well. Taking a look again at things that are closer to nature, that include plants wherever you can. I love the backpack there, top left. It's a solar-powered backpack. So when you're walking around in outdoors, it's actually charging your phone. So you might be cut off for that time period, but when you get back to civilization, you can call somebody. And the whole wabi-sabi Japanese thing too, where things are imperfect, is important. And we're talking about imperfection as being accepted now from a body point of view too, for different types of sports. For models as well too, you don't have to be the perfect shape and size. It's all about being healthy. So the same thing happens with our design. We don't want it to be so perfect sometimes anymore. We like something raw, with rough edges, that looks natural. And my favorite thing here is top left, using materials that counteract technology. So that phone charger is made out of ceramics. We've seen a lot, for example, wood and technology. So you've got wood iPhone covers, you've got maybe leather computer covers, that type of thing. But we're also seeing things like ceramics being interesting mixed with technology. So things that are charred and burnished. So those tiles you're seeing there too were actually barbecued. So things that have a little bit of the elements, something that's happened to them. So that definitely, that charred look is important. Things that are warm and fuzzy. Here you see the velvet coming in again. You see fur and fur-type products. It doesn't have to be real fur. In many cases, it's better if it's not. Tom Dixon, I was just in a shop in Hong Kong, and they come up with these kind of velvet cushions that feel like horsehair. That kind of a little bit roughness that you have in horsehair, but it's not at all. It's made out of vegetable material. but kind of animal type vegetable. This is interesting too. In the middle, this is a series of carpets. And the more you walk on the carpet, the more it wears the path on the carpet, and a new color comes up based on where you've walked on it as well. So you've got the passage of time as being important here too. So things that are natural, it's terracotta. It's things that look and feel like dirt. It's using flax, using seeds, using things that are left over from other industries and making new materials out of those. So leftovers from the textile industry, leftovers from different types of food industries that we're using to create new materials here. So things that are camping-like, we're seeing a lot of mobility in the home. People want to bring a product from one room to the next. So definitely in lights, creating little lights that have LEDs and battery-driven or solar-driven that you can carry from room to room where you go. Bean bags, that type of thing. So definitely mobile. And woods, as I said earlier, that are a little bit wilder, that are sometimes unfinished. This is not the end of white wood. That's not what I'm trying to say, that Scandinavian wood is still there. But start thinking about going back in another 2 years so to darker woods, okay, and darker finishes. And the whole idea of the melting pot. And this is sort of been a trend for a long time. So you see things coming from other cultures, but you're not sure what culture that is. Is it Indian? Is it Afghan? Is it from South America? People almost want the mix of cultures as well too. It doesn't need to be totally perfect in accordance with in a particular country as well too, but they love that look. So this color card is really important. I've seen this in previous trends, it will go forward. We're looking at a lot more saturated colors. Colors that look like they've been deep-dyed vegetable, with beetroot, with carrot, with spinach. Really those very earthy, deep colors which are very important. And here too, you're seeing there on the left, it's almost like the colors that you see at sunset, at the end of the day in autumn and winter. Very, very important. And here you see those accents too, you get the red, the blue, and the yellow, which we saw previously, but here much more saturated, quite important. And terracotta, top left, is going to be a very important color. Not just in terracotta materials, but in leather, in plastic, whatever you're making, terracotta is a key color. We're seeing it in fashion as well. So again, for the colors, we're seeing these vibrant brights, everything mixed together here as well too. And again, you don't know what culture these are coming from, but they look cultural, and that's what people are really wanting. It could be wax material and wax fabrics. It could be more traditional Indian block prints, and it could be a mix of all of the above. So sky meets earth, definitely here the blues with the greens and the browns are very important here too. And these are tonal tones. We're seeing red and green being very interesting, and not Christmassy red and green, but really that natural sort of red and green together. Those colors really play off of each other well. Taking inspiration from flowers and flower colors, really important as well too. Dahlias are particularly inspiring from the color trend. Light again, I spoke about earlier, but then taking a look at the yellows and the golds of light as being something that you can infuse in your products. Even if you don't have a light bulb there, the light comes through the color. And darks still being important, those dramatic darks, and the next trend is even darker than this. But you take a look at a bit of those landscape type of darks, which are really key. And the metals here are interesting too, because you're seeing more colored metals also. So we'll take a look at the furniture and lighting. I was speaking earlier about imperfection, and this is really the look. Things are a little bit wonky, they're a little bit worn. They're something that comes definitely from nature, and they give you so much texture you could cry. Just lots and lots and lots of texture. Taking inspiration from even wood, just one slab of wood, not chopped up into boards, just you cut the tree into slices. And I was in San Francisco about 10 days ago in a hotel, and there was a bar that we were in, and it had all been made from one redwood tree. So the entire bar was this amazing dark red from one tree. And I was kind of amazed because you're actually sitting in a tree. So, and again, we're talking about different types of biodegradable waste, like this particular here on the left. It's made from leftover wool from the wool industry. It's been pressed into making a new material. And again, like I said, plants being very important here too. Whenever you can incorporate them, the better. So also things that are woven and especially knitted, very, very soft. Anything that was hard is becoming soft. And taking a look at the whole portability of things, so leather straps, very key here. And here's something a little bit softer as well. So macrame and different types of string constructions. We're seeing a fascination for things made out of string in whatever form you want. But there's something you can put on the walls. We're seeing wicker and different types of wicker materials, very important here too. Basketry that's going into furniture and very big things made out of basket materials. And then again in the middle, this type of throw that looks like it's made out of feathers or the softest fur ever, but it's completely synthetic, so it doesn't have to be natural. So for textiles, we're seeing a lot of botanic inspirations here too, inspirations from nature. I love this too, the blurred look, which is important that we were seeing from a color perspective. And almost like recycled materials here too. Again, it could be leftovers from the factory floor that you can make into a wonderful bathhouse or something like that. And again, that sort of global pan folklore look as well here too. You're seeing fringe, and this too also on the right, interesting because you end up with repair, visible repairs. And they don't have to be repaired, you can make them look like they need to be repaired even though they're new, but have that idea of something that's been repaired that has a story to tell. I think that's the story here too, is people want something that has lived a life. And even if they're buying it new, there's something behind this room. So this folk pattern is extremely important here for bed and bath also, mixing and matching, and that's what's important for bed. So looking at different types of placed patterns, like the top right there too, almost looks like it's been a dye stain, which is really important here. Here we're looking at very natural materials. We're looking at the importance of linen, and washed linens have really been trending. The importance of jute, the importance of really raw fibers. It doesn't have to be just those. The importance of cottons that are maybe not super, super fine, but have a little bit more of a texture there. And definitely the raw edges like you're seeing on that basket in the middle, important there too. Not finishing the edges. Also for bed and bath, we're seeing definitely that botanical influence, and that will be continuing. And in the decorative accessories here too, you see that rawness I was talking about. And again, places to put special things, stone that comes from a quarry, and you've got a very beautiful finished mirror on the edge of it as well. And again, that whole macrame look with whatever materials you're using, but it looks like it's been hand made. So even for clocks again, the sort of raw and finished look. For accessories, they're too in glass. It looks like they've been pinched with the human hand, that they've been touched by somebody. They've been touched by the artisan, they've been touched by the designer, and they will touch people as well. And different type of accessories here too, made out of wood, and again, imperfect wood. It can be also leftover wood from another industry. So we're seeing this here too, that rawness, very important. Driftwood is also a key element here too. And it's not just about one candle anymore, it's about collections of candles and having them on different levels as well too. Also souvenirs and travels from around the world. If you've traveled there or if you'd like to travel there and have never been, it doesn't matter. Even the idea of stones you put together and stacked up. In my hotel room here in Delhi, they've got this, I don't know who made it, but it's a stack of stones. And it looks like something you would find if you'd gone walking in Iceland or something like that. And there's a central pillar that's holding them together, like a child's toy, but it looks fantastic. And it feels like, yeah, I went to Iceland and came back with this. So again, the indoor garden here too, we're seeing the importance of nature that can be painted, and almost a beautiful Indian miniature type of treatment, which is another fascination thing. It can be pressed between two layers, and there's a reservoir inside. So again, you don't have to remember to water your plants, the pot remembers for you. So it's a little bit of a twist on a pot. Hanging things, lots of hanging pots. The more things you can suspend, the better. People don't have space anymore. People don't even have that little wall space anymore. So we're seeing a lot more interest in ceilings from a VM perspective. When you're decorating a space, think about what you're doing with the ceiling. Because also when people come into your space, if it's at a trade show, It'll make them look up. Keep things up, I think, as well, too. And of course, these hanging planters we've been seeing for a while, but again, that fringe is getting pretty extreme. And texture, absolutely important here. So, trend number 3. You guys ready for this one? It's surprising. Opulence has been a key word for a while, and that still is important. People want something that feels rich and opulent, but not in a blingy way at all. It's got to be something that's a bit more profound. So this is quite dark and deep at the same time. It's about the importance of immersive colors and immersive experiences too. We're talking about design as drama. You can almost imagine a David Lynch film or some fantastic film with the interesting dark lights, and the importance again of neons and things that glow in the dark. People love something that glows in the dark. We're talking about new thrills that come with tech. And high textile, not this January, but the previous January, I don't know if you saw the bed linens that were coming from Austria, and they had little tiny LED lights in the duvets. So it was very princessy. You go to bed and you had sparkly bed linens, which were great. Yeah. And then also too, from a technology perspective, we're seeing something really new coming to the fore, which is called mixed reality. That goes beyond sort of virtual reality. And the first mixed reality sets will be happening this Christmas time. And the idea is it's a bit like Google Glass. You've got something you wear on your eyes, but the projection can happen anywhere. So next time I come, maybe instead of us looking at a screen, I'll make the projection in the middle of the room and we can all watch it with our glasses. So we don't need supports anymore. But this is about the wonder part of tech. You know, the part that we really love that makes us say, wow. So this is kind of the cool part. Tech here too, very, very important is voice technology. And that is going to be becoming more and more of a thing. We are not going to need our devices so much anymore to type into. We will be able to speak to them. And also having these home assistants, Alexa, for example, with Amazon Echo, and having somebody you can talk to and say, hey, can you remind me, you know, when my mom's birthday is, and you know, you send my shopping list to the grocery store, and really having a personal assistant that is through voice. And what's interesting too is that these personal assistants have personality. This is Ollie, which is the bottom left there, and it's a personal assistant that learns from you and you learn from it, and he starts getting your sense of humor and making jokes and becoming more than just a piece of tech, becoming a little bit part of your personal life as well too. So that's why Domotech, we've been talking about it for years and years, and it never really took off because who wants to figure that out in addition to everything else? And who wants to turn on the oven while you're coming back on the tube? You need to have something that's a bit softer with more personality to make it work. So again, we're getting back to this idea of theater, the idea of opulence. Velvet is being important here. Cut glass is important here. Stained glass. Effects that are moire is important here too. The idea of silks. And things that are a bit more techy too. This is definitely where we're going to have the more high-tech types of materials. If it's plastic or if it's amazing carbon fiber. Things that look liquid. Things that look like, if it's glass, it looks like it's been poured. Something that looks like it has ripples. Iridescence is very important here too. And you know those little fidget spinners that have been so popular? Well, everybody's getting into the amazing effects, and those iridescent ones are particularly popular. So iridescence is definitely continuing. And again too, if you look over there on the left, this is a room, and it's the ceiling that's been made iridescent. So you've got these special effects on the ceiling here. The idea of introducing stars, and it doesn't have to be stars in your bed linen, but definitely if you can get something that's bioluminescent, that glows in the dark in a very beautiful way, that's something that's very compelling. Great also for kids. My favorite example is in the middle there, and this is an experienced designer out of Holland, and he was commissioned to create lights for a bicycle path in Holland. And he said, I don't want to make lights because it's really boring. So I want to work with people to make bioluminescent stones, and so the path will light up itself. They'll soak up the sun during the day and give off the light at night. And he organized in a way it looks like a Vincent van Gogh's Starry, Starry Night, which is quite cool. So light that is virtual, again, there's neon effective things too. And again, that could be neon light, or it could be a neon effect in the material, if it's perspex or whatever you happen to be working with. It can be glass as well too, like uranium glass that was super popular in the Soviet Union in like the 60s and 70s. Of course, there's no uranium there, but it kind of glows at night. Great for cocktail glasses. We're seeing cage effects as well too that look very precious. And we talked about macrame and weaves previously, but these are more made out of metal. They're more made out of perforated hard things too. And again, the light that goes through them. So it's a really interesting color part here too. It's quite unusual. It's about dramatic contrasts here. And this is definitely one where you've got black, and we're seeing a lot more purples coming to the forefront. Pink has been popular for quite a long time. We're seeing purple as being an interesting color for fashion, but then also coming into interiors as well too. And if you think about purple, is interesting because we're right now at a time of extremes in the world, politically and economically. For example, in the United States, we've got red states and blue states that don't get along. But if you mix red and blue together, it's purple. It's also the warm and the cold. It's kind of a combination of extremes. So there's almost a logical reason for purple. But again, too, we're seeing a lot of people attracted to it. It's post-pink in a way. And purple is a color that works well for men as well as for women. So you can have the lavender versions, you can have the darker versions as well. So again, you see the directional color, that great purple, toned down with ochre. You see again a red, a blue, and a yellow here. These are more extreme tones of red, blue, and yellow. And you see these amazing pairings. When you mix that purple with the bronze and a shot of hot pink, it looks pretty amazing and sophisticated. So it could be a very sophisticated color. And again, these bronze colors are key here. Teal, this is going to be a very important color. Okay, this color that we're seeing here that's a little bit like that teal, that fantastic sort of bluey, greeny, it's a bit iridescent. That is going to be a very, very important color, and I can tell you that now. We're working in color for ages, and that's something that is drawing all of us in the office. It's a bit of an alien color, but it's also a very chic color at the same time. And then we're seeing dark neons. It definitely plays on dark blues and blacks, and there's super bright colors that come shining through. And again, you're seeing that teal, you're seeing a little bit of the dark sort of Bordeaux colors as well too in gray, is toning things down for midnight. And the iridescence is coming to the fore here too, with a bit of the, again, shiny colors, sort of metallic colors or colored metallics. So for furniture and lighting, we definitely have a flair for drama. Again, this whole David Lynch thing at the same time. Deep hues, rich velvets. Again, things are still very soft. And when you've got if I turn over there, it doesn't work. I can't look at my slides. You see the botanicals that are happening there too, and they're very dramatic. They look like they're made out of this really fantastic painting, a little bit surreal. Important here too is the idea of metallics plus softer materials like silks and satins. So you can come up with those chic materials here too, definitely as well. Definitely satin, and satin effects will be important, even if you're making a hard thing. And again, there's a little bit more, how should I say, plays of color here as well too that are like stained glass. So definitely that geometric sort of precious look at something that's been faceted like a jewel, and that can be a pattern or that can be an actual product. And for soft goods, I think this is a really important thing too. How can you make that neon effect in a soft good? So it could be something that's in a yarn or it could be printed on top. It could be with certain threads that are really shining forth. I think that's something that's really interesting. Again, looking at those sort of taffetas and silks and satins and those type of really chic effects here too. And that sparkling spangled thing too, but again, it needs to be quite soft. That's going to be important as far as textiles. They shouldn't be rough. And again, we've got these geometric patterns here too, that are quite fine, I would say. So it's something that looks like it's almost made out of different threads. And that sparkle that's coming here too, even in bed and bath. A sparkly bath mat could be a good thing. You want a little bit of glam in the morning and late at night. Again, these very dark shades here too for bed and for bath, even with black and Bordeaux. And things that can sort of shine from within here. Sort of the perspex and LED sort of effect. And that sparkly effect, I love very much on the right there, when you've got that contrast with the sort of basket beads and then a little bit of sparkles and spangles that can be glued on or can be woven in, it doesn't matter. having that contrast with the rough and the sophisticated is very important. And sort of sparkly diamond effects here as well too. And again, warm metals, glowing neon shades, and prismatic sort of jewel effects. Important here too, matte versus shiny. And both are good, but what you want is a bit of a contrast. So this vase that looks really, really soft, the bowl, very important. So you've got that really fantastic enamel on the inside, and you've got the brushed metal on the outside. So very black matte can be here important too. That's more extreme. It's not going to sell tons, but it's definitely got its own market, having matte black. Even in something like that watering can. So sophisticated types of things for indoor garden. I think here this is great as well too, the anodized metal. That's an important material as well. The fantastic colored metals, and here in a very brushed, and again, soft effect. The metal's been worked, so it's been softly folded over there. And things as well too that, again, can help you tell a little bit of theatrical stories in the shapes. I like very much that vase in the middle. And there's that little bit of a bump, space in the middle, and you can put a precious object at the bottom and put the vase on top. So again, you can make it personalized here. And that's something that definitely people say, wow, they bring a smile to their face and they see what they can do with that person. Like. And we've seen those globes and those domes for a really, really long time. Somebody was asking me earlier about what trend do you think would last so long? That's definitely one of them. And they keep coming back time and time again, because people like the idea of a beautiful contained space, and they can put a precious object or something that's important to them and augment it. Somebody gave me, I was again at Tom Dixon yesterday, it was Beau Concept as well. They gave me this piece of very round cement. In the middle, they cut out like a triangle, and there was a mirrored surface inside. So I could put that on a table and put a ring or a cherry or something like that, and it would be reflected in this sort of a jewel box, which is quite cool as a decorative. You sure? You can buy it? Yeah? All right. I know it's a lot, but this one's really important here. And when we were discussing these trends, this is when the US elections were going on. And of course, we're a global team, we come from everywhere. But that was something that was top of mind, like what in the world is going to go on there? And we're trying to think about what unites people in the world. And it was our color expert who was bicycling into work one day. She was Lisa Agard. What people really share together is a desire and a feeling for nostalgia, and also a desire and a feeling for street culture. And that's something that's kind of universal across the globe. And it's really important to note here that that's why we call this worldhood, the idea of a neighborhood, but a global neighborhood. And it goes back to feelings of nostalgia as well too. We've seen, again, the idea of street takeover. And this is like the previous trend I said too, it doesn't matter what streets. And it's important that these are global streets, because trends are no longer coming from the West. Trends are coming from the East and the South. And that's something I told my team. I said, I don't want this to look like Brooklyn, because it's not about Brooklyn, the street style. It's been that way for a while, but we're seeing a lot more influences from a lot of other places too. The idea of the flexible home is also very important. Because people live in small spaces, a lot of people rent, and also too, people get bored. They want to be able to move things around their home. They want to be able to create new spaces as well. So that's something that's very important, creating things that you can move around. Like, I like very much too, on the top right, that type of storage, where you can just lean it against the wall, just even having a frame as an object in your home, that you can put the frame on the table, and then put these flowers right in front of it. So you're creating a work of art there, with a really beautiful frame, with no glass in it, nothing in it. It's just a shape that goes around something. I think is quite cool. So the return of retro, that nostalgia factor. Retro logos, like the co-op, young people who now want Polaroid cameras. My kids have been bothering me for a typewriter. I'm like, really? I mean, just going into really old analog types of things. And going back to the toy chest sometimes too, and looking for toys that you played with when you were a kid. Old ways of making coffee. You know, forget about an espresso. That's actually kind of boring. It makes the same coffee every day. You know, you want something a bit more random and a little bit more special. So we're talking about nostalgia instead of nostalgia. So it references nostalgic colors and shapes, like I said, Playmobil or gramophones like you see top right, but it's done in a new way. Here I love the fact that they used wood, and that's definitely going to be an important trend here too. Looking at mobiles and inspirations from old tech is really key here too, and even Soviet tech is interesting. So the maker movement has been a long-term movement, and that will still continue. People want to see people making things. They want to know that somebody has handmade something for them as well too. Or even if it's at an industrial level, it has handmade qualities to it. And that is something that will not be out of trend for a very, very, very long time. People really, that is actually giving value, and people are understanding that more and more. So creative makers is a huge trend. Puzzle pieces, that's interesting too, because it's almost taking different shapes and different materials and putting them together to create a puzzle. Again, it's flexible too. You can build something out and make it as big or small as you like, and it makes things playful. And as you know, in this day and age, we don't have enough time to play. So if you let people play a little bit, they're pretty grateful for it. This is also where you see a lot of that urban trend that we've seen for a while and where that's going. So you see sort of tires, you see different types of subway materials and things that are very sort of tough and constructed that are still being very important here. Terrazzo has been a really big trend, and that will continue as well too. The terrazzo type materials you're seeing bottom right. So industrial types of things too, but here it's interesting because it is a little bit more sophisticated industrial. It's almost like that brushed metal or that powder-coated metal. So you've got something that's a little bit more beautiful than the rough industrial stuff that we've seen previously. And again, we're seeing that kind of teal color being very important here too from an industrial perspective. It can go sophisticated, it can also go industrial. So there's a lot of things you can do with that color. The things that are wrapped and bound, I talked about string earlier, but again, creating a pattern just with taking a string and wrapping it around looks absolutely fascinating. And different weaves where you can see the quality of the strings. And these can be things that are inspired by camping types of materials and sportswear types of materials. It could be quite new, or it could be plastic, it could be nylon, it could be a lot of different things. So this is the color card. Again, taking from global street culture, it's a little bit gritty and vibrant, and it has that sort of faded, nostalgic tones that I was talking about earlier. So we're seeing sort of the faded green, and the faded blue, and the brown, and the gray. But again, in the middle, there are two of those accents with those sort of old school yellows and reds and oranges and the green. So the brights are definitely borrowed from city streets, but here this looks quite sophisticated too. You've got those sort of stainless steel colors, but then you've also got really lovely yellow and shots of orange as well too, so it can be quite sophisticated. And then you're mixing all those brights together too, those old school colors, but with brown to really sort of tone that down. And the city urban colors, but what's interesting here is they're a little bit baked by the sun, so they're not brights. These are not primaries here. It's almost like if you're mixing those colors into a vat of cement, that kind of quality. And then pastels and neutrals, because pastels are still continuing, but you're seeing them with grays. And again, these sort of dirty pastels. And the sort of DIY workshop kind of thing, so it's brights mixed with sort of plywood and MDF colors. And plywood is definitely going to be key material going forward. So in furniture and lighting, we're definitely seeing the sort of multiple nostalgia eras, and a little bit 60s, a little bit 80s. Again, you don't know exactly, it's not referencing one single era, it's just elements that remind you of some of them. We're seeing things that are, again, a little bit more flexible, like this chair there on the right. It's made out of metal, but you can add in the softer sort of materials and fabrics and change those much more easily as well too. Different types of tables that can be as big or as small as you want as you're putting them together. Definitely, again, these smaller spaces here too, and trying to make things easier for people. There's sort of a Japanese influence here too, where you can pull certain items out and push them back in, where things are very practical and you can put together yourself. And again, that sort of idea of curating your artwork, curating the things that you've got on the shelf, and the shelf is even constructed from string and that light as well too. So again, the string influence here too, that's been wrapped with this table, with this lamp that looks like string. These industrial chairs that are interesting because they have a pattern on them as well too. Somehow this looks a little bit like collegiate at the same time, something inside of university days. And the print and woven textiles take inspiration from street art. And again, street art from around the world. So definitely very graphic. And you see these sort of motifs that look like they're woven. They can be tartan inspired. They could be that fantastic recycled sari, which is, I don't think, used enough. When I've seen it, I've always been, oh, I love this, I need it. I just want a ball of that in my room. That material doesn't get used enough, and it's fantastic. And again, these sort of urban looks, but they're soft. So we're seeing this sort of knitted textile down at the bottom right. It looks like it's tire tracks, but it's extremely soft. And even sort of gray and black as well too, again, rendered in something that is very, very soft here. So as far as bed and bath is concerned, again, inspired by city grids and galvanized metal here. Inexpensive metal, it's great. We've seen definitely graphic geometries and a new look at patchwork. The importance also still of words, and that's definitely something that's continuing, finding the newest words. We've got reports on the site about that. What are people saying? Again, it's very nostalgic. So mixed and match patterns here as well too. I love very much that mix of metal with pom-poms that are fabric. And pom-poms are still going to be important in fringe. The hard and soft mix there is really very interesting. So decorative accessories that are again playful. They reference things that we used to play with as kids, and they rock. Mirrors here as well too, that just have like a fabric on the outside, this grosgrain ribbon. Different types of gritty textures here too, again things that you want to be able to touch and to construct with. And definitely decorative accessories that reference urban types of materials as well too, and urban spaces. For the indoor garden, we're seeing a lot of cement and concrete, and that's definitely a trend that's continuing, those sorts of qualities. Chains here as well too, growing plants, hanging plants, more fabrics for pots. That's something that's really key, not having hard pots but soft ones, and hanging those as well too. And even types of spray painted ceramics and concrete. And again, these very, very, very bright colors here. So again, plants don't have to be things that look natural. You can actually have very, very bright things that go with them. And that was my last slide. Thank you guys very, very much.
How did we decide the two axes as to we're going to play in this zone of emotional versus intellectual and known versus unknown? What was the logic of deciding these two axes?
Well, basically what we do in the end, when we come up with our 4 trends, we try and think about how these trends are are shaping and being shaped by directional forces, if you will. And it's different every season, okay? For the following season, we're talking about activating different types of the body or the mind or the creativity. This particular time we thought the strongest axis here was between the emotional and intellectual. And I said too, we've got the thinker, which is really about intellectual ideas. And then we've got human nature, which is about emotional and visceral things. And then we've got the known, so things that we can prove and that are studied. And we've got the unknown, and things we have no idea how to prove that. And again, that's the idea of human nature and dark wonder, and things that make you sort of surprised. So it depends. It's the trends that give us the access. We don't at the beginning of the trend season say we want to go emotional, intellectual, known, unknown. We wait and see what the trends are telling us as well too. No, gold is that more metal. So gold is important, but I think also too, definitely the copper and the brass and bronze. You don't have to make it look like it's real gold. Just knowing that it's a little bit more of an inexpensive metal, but it has that warmth, that's important too.
No, but what I should extend your question on is, what kind of metal finish that would work? I mean, meaning, would you want a lustrous material, or would you want something which is matte finished, or something which is sandblasted? What?
It's definitely, if you can put texture with it, is important. Nothing here is going to be shiny, definitely. if maybe it's light that's glowing and there's a shining light, but the metals themselves are going to have texture. And they brushed still looks fantastic. Blurred can be fantastic. But yeah, nothing shiny.
That's what this question was basically.
Okay, so one of the slides where you showed a dark green with a metal thing combined, one of the pictures which you really liked.
Yeah.
Is it that you want to say that the textile will also look a metallic finish, or do you think they both will be separate?
It depends, because I think the interesting thing there was the contrast. And so we had the metallic, and then we had a textile that was soft and velvety. But it can also be a metallic textile, and then a hard material that is a little bit more toned down. So I think it's more of the contrast type of things too. You want visual texture at the same time that you want actual fingertip texture. So that's what's interesting. And again, these are not rules, they're directions. And they're for you to say, hey, that makes sense for me and for what I'm making. Yeah.
So this is, this is a little more personal because I deal in metal. So I could see a lot of emphasis on being natural, being soft, being close to nature as possible. But metallic structures and metal per se, let's be honest, they're quite structured, they're quite hard, and they do not resemble nature to a large extent. And I don't want to dilute, I don't want to paint it, I don't want to dilute it, just to make it look natural. So how can I solve this conundrum where I have something that's too structural, but I could get it that we are moving towards something that's more flowy and fluidic and natural.
Also, yeah, there's a couple things I choose. You don't have to follow that human nature trend if that doesn't feel right to you. Because if there was metals, for example, that would look amazing in the thinker, which is much more intellectual and structured, so that would work more for your metals. But that actually, when you were saying that, it made me think of something. There's this new mini-series called The Crown, which talks about Queen Elizabeth in her very early years. Yeah. Take a look online, because the trailer for that at the very beginning is somebody who's pouring metal to make a crown shape. And it's absolutely fascinating. It's one of the best things of the series. So it looks natural in many ways. You see the metal being injected like this, and then going out into those crown shapes, but it looks very natural at the same time. So look for the trailer for The Crown, and I think that's an interesting way of making something like gold look natural. It's almost been like shot through a tube, if you will. And that maybe is very difficult to do, I have no idea, because I don't work in that. But that might be an interesting thing to look at.
Maybe one actually you can do patinas.
Yeah, patina?
Patina finishes on.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think what you're saying is we can replicate the natural structures, like say, it could be a stalactite or stalagmite, things like this that look natural, but still they won't feel natural,
But they don't necessarily have to feel natural, because, how does gold feel natural unless you're actually mining it yourself out of the earth? So people don't expect that of gold, I don't think. It can look natural, but feeling natural is the other thing. You don't have to take things completely in one direction. You can definitely say, hey, listen, I kind of like the idea of that natural look, but I'll, create it into something that just feels, hard and strong and secure. I'm going to stick around for a while, so if you guys want to come and ask individual questions, that's perfectly fine. And we've got Priya and Bonita who are there too to answer questions. So, thank you very, very much for listening, and I look forward to hearing your feedback as well too about how things go.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you very much. Now we are done with today's presentation. We have small arrangement for tea and coffee outside. You can join us there. Lisa and her team are here. You can pose questions to her during your tea session. Plus, we'll be having a seminar on Saturday. Coming Saturday, there will be a seminar on usage of online medium to tap new markets. Ms. Tamanna Chaturvedi from IFT will be making a presentation on Saturday. So you are all requested to be there at 2:30 p.m. Saturday. This is the same place where we'll be having a seminar. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us.